Zahra, and we are now going to look at session 12. Now, session 12, we're looking at trigonometry and vectors. Now, this is very, very much at the top end, and a lot of this also passes over onto the higher paper. So we looked at Pythagoras already, so a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is always your hypotenuse. So remember, that's the angle, that's the side opposite the right angle, and it will always be your longest side. So now what we're going to look at is trigonometry and a little bit of vectors. I know it seems like an odd pairing, but it's kind of the top end. There's not that many questions on it, but a lot of people remember it as SOHCAHTOA. So a lot of people, it's just a phrase, and it essentially stands for sine theta, or theta is just angle. So sine something is the opposite over the hypotenuse, cos adjacent over hypotenuse, and TOA is opposite over adjacent. Now, what do I mean by that? So if I have a right angle, the minute I have this right angle triangle, I know the one opposite is the hypotenuse. Now, it doesn't matter how it's drawn, that's very bad, right angle, but opposite will always be the hypotenuse, and the right angle will be represented with that square sort of shape. Now, it depends which angle you choose. So if I was to choose this angle here, this is straight away my hypotenuse. Opposite the angle, so if I was to draw an arrow up, is the opposite, and next to it is the adjacent. So we're going to start any question to do with angles by labeling. You're going to label my hypotenuse, my opposite, and my adjacent. Okay. And there's some notes, there's some notes around vectors, but as usual, we're going to go to the exam questions because that puts it all into context and makes it easier to look at. So we're asked to use trigonometry, and this time we're trying to find the size of an angle. So again, the minute we see a right angle, our brain is going to go, let's label. So opposite, this is H. This is the angle we're looking at. Opposite the angle is my opposite. So opposite the right angle, so across the right angle, the longest side is always my hypotenuse. Opposite the angle that I'm looking at is my opposite, so my O. And the other side next to it is the adjacent. So then I say to myself, and if you have to write at the top of every question, SOHCAHTOA, you write that. You say, what do I know? I know H and I know A. So which one has A and H in it? It's the C. So that tells us cos X, because that's the angle, equals A, which is 9 over 10. So 9/10, but we don't want that. We want the X. To find the X, if you look at your calculator, above the cos, you'll see the symbol that's cos minus 1. That's opposite cos, if you like. So you're going to do shift cos in your calculator, 9/10, and you will get an angle. So you get X equals 25.841, blah, blah, blah. And we're just going to write 25.8. Doesn't tell us how many decimal places. If you've done more, you should have been all right. But, you know, there's two significant figures in, like there's 10 in the question. Doing one more is not going to lose you any marks. Okay, now we've got vectors. And like I said, we were going to do these without thinking about theoretically. All vectors are, even remember we did coordinates when we have a graph. Along, up, exactly the same. The top number represents how far along you go. The bottom number represents how far up and down you go. So we've got A, so we're going to rewrite A. We're just going to copy this out. And then we've got minus 3 lots of B. Now what that means is everything inside B, I've got to times by 3. So that's going to be 3 times 1, which is 3, and 3 times minus 5, which is minus 15. And now I've got 2 minus 3, minus 3, and 2 minus 15, which becomes plus 15. So on the top, I've got minus 3, so minus 6. So immediately that rules these two out. And then 2 plus 15, which is 17. So the answer is that first one. So we got some more practice of these. If I were you, I'd just pause it, double check you can do these. I'll write up the solutions. So we've got 2 lots of the A. So everything in A is being times by 2. So I'm doing 5 times 2 to give me 10 and 2 times 2 to give me 4. And then I'm adding -1 and 7. Then I can add the top row and add the bottom row. So 10 plus and a minus together make a minus, and 4 plus 7. So I'm going to get 9 on the top and 11 on the bottom. Same with the next one. I've got 2 lots of A, so I'm going to double everything that's in that A column. So 6 and 8. And I'm going to minus timesing everything in that B by 3. So 5 times 3 is 15, minus 2 times 3 is -6. So 6 minus 15 gives you -9. And then you've got 8 minus minus, which together will make a plus and tells you 14. Right. We've got another right angle triangle now. So we're going to do that same thing we just did. Across from the right angle is my H. Okay, I want to find out AB, but let's finish labeling first. This is the angle we've got. This is opposite, and the other one's adjacent. So what do I want? So I'm going to write my SOHCAHTOA at the top. And I think, what do I want? Well, what do I want the opposite. I know the H. So I look for something that has O and H in it, and that's what I'm going to use. So now I'm going to say sine. Now remember, if we know the angle, that's what goes after the sine. Sine doesn't mean anything on its own. It needs an X or an angle or something after it. So I've got the sine, I'm going to write 23 equals the opposite, which is the thing I wanted to find. So AB, the length AB, over the hypotenuse, which is 15. If I want to get AB on its own, I've got to bring that 15 up. So I've got to times 15 on both sides. And so if I do 15 sine 23, I get 5.860. I want to do it to 3 significant figures. So that means 3 numbers. So I get 5.86 as my length. And you know, you do like a little sense check. You're like, is it smaller than the hypotenuse? Yes, it is. Probably done it right. If you get a number bigger than, you know you've done something wrong.